welcome back to our third week of garden programming online. This week we're going to be going a little bit further into hand pollinating and learning some more about pollination. So before you go any further into this video, I want you to make sure that you have listened to the YouTube videos of the Mariana Becomes a Butterfly. Last week was chapters 1 through 4. And this week you should listen through chapters 5 through 7. So if you haven't done that yet, stop this video and go watch the link for that is posted into your Google Classroom. So there's a lot of supplies that you need today, so make sure you have everything out and ready. So you should have received in your kit a little paper sack that said hand pollinators. And inside that, every kit might be a little bit different. You should have some foil, a toothpick, a Q-tip, a packet of Jello, and then a pipe cleaner, and then I think some of you may have received eraser as well. Some other stuff that you guys will need to complete the activity is there's 2 of these flowers for testing. This one has marble on it, even though we don't have a marble, so some of these need to be crossed out. And then another one that has the word foil on it, okay? So make sure you grab those 2 sheets, and then the sheet also that is used for recording. So let me get that page to show you as well. And then this is the other page that you need, that is evaluating the pollination materials, okay? So let's go ahead and get started on our lesson. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be designing and testing hand pollinators, something that you should have learned about while listening to Mariana Becomes a Butterfly. In that book, she tested some hand pollinators to pollinate her own flower that wasn't pollinating. Do you remember that? She had gotten a flower from a relative in Hawaii, and the bugs weren't visiting her plant, so it wasn't pollinating and it wasn't fruiting. So she had to create a system to pollinate, which means bringing the pollen from flower to flower, then producing a fruit. I believe that her plant was growing berries, I think. So if you had a, maybe you were growing a single zucchini or something, and bugs weren't coming to it and they wasn't pollinating, this is something you could do at your house, is hand pollinate. So that's what we're going to test today. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take your flowers for testing worksheets, and since we don't have exactly the materials that are written down on these flowers for testing, I want you to grab a pencil. I'm going to grab mine, or a pen, and I want you to write down on the flowers what materials you have to keep track. So I am going to do that here. Okay, so we don't have a marble, but we do have a toothpick. If you have tape at home, you can use, you can keep tape. I have tape here, so we're going to keep that one on there. I don't have an eraser, but I do have a Q-tip. Here's the second sheet. I do have foil. I do have a pipe cleaner, but I don't have a pom-pom. So if you have something else at home you would like to put in place with that, that is okay. These were materials that we had on hand to give you guys. So if you guys have any of these materials at home, feel free to use them. And then do the same with this sheet as well. Go ahead and mark out the ones that you don't have and change them. Okay, so we are all caught up. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin your experiment. So I need you to take your little packet of Jello. Everybody's is different. You might have green, you might have maybe a darker red. So I want you to take something, it could be a scrap of paper, you could put it right on the table, you could use a muffin liner. I'm just going to use a sheet of paper, and I will flip the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So this is my Jell-O. Just like that. You don't need much, just a little bit. And then I'm also going to, I'm going to have a spray bottle handy. You might find this handy, or maybe a little dish of water. We're going to see how well the pollen sticks to these. We might need the water, we might not. So let's start off with maybe I'm going to start off with a toothpick. Okay, so we're going to have our Jell-O here, and then we're going to get out that flowers for testing. We're going to have it handy, okay? Let's move it so you guys can see it just like that. Okay, so I'm going to take my toothpick, and I'm going to run it in the pollen, or the Jell-O. I don't know, do you guys see anything on there? A little bit right there just got off. So what I did was, as I ran it in my pollen, aka my Jell-O, and I tried to pollinate the flower. A little bit got dropped off, but not much. So let's try slightly wetting it. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. Now if you think about it, a bee or another insect might have sticky mouth parts or feet to drop off the Jell-O or the pollen. So that worked. So what you're going to need to do is, on your evaluating pollination materials, you're going to find your toothpick and you're going to answer, does it pick up pollen? Yes or no. Does it drop pollen off? Yes or no. And then how much pollen did it drop off? No pollen, some pollen, or a lot of pollen. Here for this one, if we're basing it off of the dry toothpick, I'm gonna circle, does it pick up pollen? Yes. Does it drop off pollen? Yes. How much pollen did it drop off? Just some. And then I'm gonna write a note. It was hard to see because not much had gotten dropped off, if you remember. All right, let's test one more, and then I'm gonna let you guys test the rest by yourself. Okay, let's try the the Q-tip right here. So same thing, we're going to take the Q-tip, and we're going to dunk it in the Jell-O or the pollen. Not much got dropped off. That's kind of surprising to me. There we go, there's little pieces there. Okay, it's dropping off. So I'm gonna take my spray bottle again, and I'm gonna wet it just slightly. We're gonna pollinate the end. And look at that. Pollen. So that flower is pollinated from the Q-tip. So let's take out our evaluating pollination materials and something to write with. And here's my Q-tip. Did it pick up pollen? Yes. Did it drop off pollen? Yes. And the wet one, just kind of like the toothpick, it did drop off a lot of pollen once it was wet. Let's write that down so we remember, because we are good scientists by keeping good notes, right? So Q-tip. Only some pollen had gotten dropped off when it was dry. Let's write that up here too. But a lot more pollen got dropped off when it was wet. All right, so I want you to take the rest of your materials, and I want you to do what I did. Dunk it in your pollen, your Jell-O, and then investigate on your flowers for testing, and then try to see what it's like when it was wet, because remember, the insects that are pollinating your flower might have some wet mouth parts and might have wet or sticky feet. So try both theories and then take good notes like you're a scientist and see how your experiment goes. So I want you to go ahead and pause this video and then come back when you're ready and you have all of your flowers tested with all of your materials. Remember to keep good notes. Okay, welcome back. Did you get all of your flowers pollinated with all the materials did you have? And did you find any other materials around the house that maybe you wanted to try out? So let me show you the rest of the materials that I tried. I did 3 more off camera, so let me show you what I had. So this was my foil, and this one kind of surprised me. Did the foil surprise you too? That is how much had gotten pollinated dry. I did not have to wet that one at all. And then, let's put this all back on the flower. This Jello is so hard to work with. So this is the pipe cleaner. This one did really, really good. And that one was dry as well. And I wonder why that one picked up so much more pollen. What's your theory? My theory is that, let me show you, that this one looks a little bit more like the legs of an animal, maybe. Maybe these little furry parts on the pipe cleaner are more like the hairs on like a bee's leg. So let's carefully move so we don't spill any more of the pollen. Let's bring over the tape. So the tape dropped off some. It wasn't bad. I thought that maybe it would have dropped off a little bit more, but a lot had gotten stuck on the tape. And is that what happened for you if you got a chance to try out tape? That's what happened for me. So did you also take good notes on your evaluating pollination materials? I took some notes on that, and I want you to keep that handy when we get a chance to meet on our calls, and we'll discuss what your results were, what your theories were, and just see what you guys found out on your experiment. Because remember, we're being a scientist right now, and we are experimenting on what makes good hand pollinators, just like Mariana did in the book Mariana Becomes a Butterfly. So that is all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed being a bug and getting to hand pollinate different flowers and being a scientist, just like Mariana was, because Mariana was being like a scientist too. And remember, she was taking good notes as well in her journal. So keep your evaluating pollination materials handy, and you can discuss this with people at your home, or if we get a chance to meet in person, we will get a chance to talk about that as well. And also know that we have posted a new recipe for the week, so make sure you catch up on that. If you haven't got a chance to try the recipes in the past, also get a chance to try that. We are making a lot of yummy snacks here. They're all healthy, they're all inexpensive, and they are all very quick to make. So I hope you have been enjoying these videos so far and have been getting a chance to work with us and to try out those recipes that we have been posting for you. So I will see you next week.